Okay. Hello, everyone. Good evening, or good morning, or afternoon, depending on when you're listening to this. My name is Charles Chaz Yazik, the DM, the Bard. I go by many names, and I am the host of this, our podcast, Bardadvice. This is the 58th of hopefully many episodes of the show. On it, I do my best to answer any questions, concerns, critiques, criticisms, etc. you may have. So, that's what this is, and that's what we're doing. Hope everybody's doing well. We're a little bit flying on the seat of our pants this evening, but that's okay, because that's what we do. I kind of just live by that anyway. Hope everybody's had a fantastic week and had a good Friday. It's been a bit of a weird week / couple of weeks for me, just in readjusting and getting used to feeling sort of normal again. So, hope everybody out there's doing okay. At the top of the show, as we like to do, like to remind everyone of our email address here, which is bardadvice@gmail.com. If you have any questions, concerns, complaints, queries, any kind of stories you might want to tell, follow-ups on previous questions that we've had before, send them over. If you got some, send them over, because they're always helpful for the production and continuation of our show. If you want to get some merch, you can do so over at manshorts.com. And if you'd like to contribute to anything that I'm doing musically, you can do so directly via PayPal, Cash App, or Venmo, all of which are Yazik, Yahzick. Although, admittedly, after seeing what's been going on in the world of rap these days, I might be taking a bit of a step back from that for a while. But I'll still be working on, other musical stuff, notably the D&D Christmas album, which I hope to have out by Christmas. Hello, everyone, all of the regulars, Bean, James, Chris, Cat Jazz, Yokai, Brocco, Bird. Hello, Avram, the friendly neighborhood sorcerer's here. And I see Kirk's here. Nice work, Kirk. That's got to be cool, getting here first. So now you can't miss anything. Now you're stuck here. You got to deal with the whole thing. So you'll get to see if maybe you miss anything normally. All right, so tonight is going to be a little interesting because, and Chris, you're here. I'm not sure if you saw my email, but all of the questions tonight are from Chris and from one Chris. And that's because this one Chris sends great questions and there were quite a number of them to choose from. And honestly, it just made it a little easier for me this week. So, I was, kind of scrambling to get things together, had to move some days around. It's been Sick City in my house. So now that we're finally on the other side of that, I had to kind of sort of scramble things together, and Chris made it really easy. So we're just going to be doing Chris questions tonight, and then we also have a follow-up. But let's get into all of those things, shall we? You know what? Art Corner. That's a thing. And, oh man, now I feel really bad because I totally forget who sent this to me. Somebody sent me an email and recommended this. This is not a sponsor, and I'd never heard of it before today, or rather before I got the email. But the name of the service or website is Battlebards. It's actually a gaming group, it looks like, from Orange County, California. They come together. Evidently, they put this together years ago on Kickstarter. Again, not a sponsor, just wanted to show some love because it's cool stuff. They have a YouTube channel as well, it's Battlebards. It's basically just music, audio and music for your campaigns, TTRPG stuff. And they've got some really cool stuff. It's not just like all instrumental. There's some, clearly thought out songs. And if you go to the website, it's cool because they break down all of the different themes and instances in which you would need said music or audio. So it's a really cool service. I recommend that anybody go check it out. And hey, if you're out there listening, Battlebards, if you ever want to maybe do some sponsorship or, we could work something out, hit us up. Send us an email. All right. So that is the Art Corner this week. And there's not really much else on my mind. So we're going to do question number 1. We're just going to jump right in and see what's going on. You didn't miss much, Pirate, although we're going to be doing all Chris questions, and not just questions from Chris in general, but questions from one specific Chris. So let's go through all of these questions because they're really cool. Let's get going with number 1, who, as we all know, the first question is from Chris. So what do we got? If you were a PC, what level do you think you'd be? What would your stats be? I think we've talked about this before. I didn't remember whether or not I'd answer this on a podcast. And what I really should do, if I haven't at some point, is just make a character sheet of myself as to what I would look like. But I did manage to scramble down some stats. So I put that I would be probably like level 10 or 11, just based on the fact that, just based on the idea of if 20 is the max level, and whatever max level and as to like our life expectancy is, which is what, like 75 or something. So I'd say like just overall probably like 10 or 11, maybe a little more, maybe 13, 14. Excuse me, as I mentioned, I'm still getting over some of this gunk. But as for stats, I think I'd be a little more balanced than maybe I originally thought. I think I'd have at least a 12 in strength, if not 14. Although most of that is probably just like momentum because of my size. But I don't know, I'm pretty strong. I got to carry myself around on my legs all the time, so I probably got pretty strong legs. So probably 14 strength. Dex is my dump stat, right? We've talked about that before. Probably an 8. Maybe even a 6, Dex might be. Constitution is probably 10, and that might actually be, I might be being a little generous with myself there. It might be an 8 for con. And int is actually, I went int for my highest. I went 16 for int because I don't feel like I'm like a super genius. Like, I think I'm smart enough to know that I don't know a lot more than I know, but also smart enough to recognize that, like, maybe I know a little bit more than, like, I don't know, most, some, half, something like that. I think 16's fair. Definitely a 10 to 12 wisdom. Only because, and I actually thought about this later, because when you think of wisdom, it's like you initially want to think of the virtue, like the idea of like, oh, someone who's wise. But that's not all that it goes into when you consider like mechanics and skills. So wisdom is inclusive of perception, of which I have really bad perception. Not just directly with having astigmatism, but I also have really, really poor observation skills just in general. So that's going to bump my whiz down a little bit. I think that's probably 12. And then the charisma, I went 14 as well. I think with charisma, I don't know, maybe 16. But yeah, I'm certainly not like super, super charismatic. I think, oddly enough, I actually think that I'm more talented than I am charismatic when it comes to just like creating stuff. Because I realize that that's like a big part of the problem, is just my general energy, maybe. I don't know. I'm kind of a low energy guy, but also somebody who talks all the time. So whatever the charisma would be for somebody like that. And you didn't ask what class. I think we talked about before. I think it's pretty obvious that I'd be a bard, but definitely would probably be a druid in like another life. See what's going on in chat. 40th level, jack of all trades. Level 10 artificer. Yeah, you're probably right on that, pirate. 17 straight down the sheet, including AC. I don't know about my AC. Even though it's just Chris questions, all questions are always valued. Yes, indeed. Thank you. That's a good reminder, too, everybody. Your questions are valuable. Please send them in. Better before the show than what's been happening to me the past few weeks where it just drops an ad somewhere in the middle. Yeah, sorry about that, James. Still working the kinks out on that. I don't like that it does that to you either. Believe me, it's not my choice. If that does happen to you, then it's just the nature of whatever YouTube's doing, and or I made a mistake somewhere. But I don't think that's the case. I think that, at least for this evening, because I think I've set it up on manual and I'm not going to be doing anything. So, sadistic dungeon masters saddle their characters with low charisma, punchable faces. All right. Level 2 barbarian, level 2 artificer, level 2 ranger, level 2 sork, level 1 rogue, level 1 bard. Okay. There's a lot going on there, pirate. But I mean, that is, jack of all trades, as you said. Don't confuse ranks and perform with raw characteristic. Yeah. Yeah. That's a great point. That's the thing. Like, because I think that when it comes to entertainment specifically, I think that there are people who, I think that there are people who are really talented, and then there are people who are really charismatic, and then there are people who are just like a crazy combination of the two, which you don't see too often. That's when you get stuff, I think, like the Matt Mercers, is when it's like, oh, this person, in addition to being just talented based on whatever, what their skill set or what they've done, but also in addition to that is also like really charismatic and entertaining. So it's kind of a perfect storm there. Not sure what the question was, but cleric levels plus NPC shopkeep. We were talking about what I would look like as a PC. So I think that seems pretty fair. All right. Moving on. Thank you for the question, Chris. And thank you for all the questions, Chris. We're moving on to your next question. As we know is from Chris. Let's get into it. I've heard of people playing micro sessions, ranging from 10 to 30 minutes, all the way up to 14-hour epics. What do you think is the ideal time frame for a game session? Well, I had never heard of these micro sessions, until I read your question, and what a cool and interesting idea. 30 minutes, I don't know how much you're getting done. But I don't know. I've never tried something like that. I've considered trying something like that in the past. Just for me, like, I think like 3 to 4 hours is pretty solid. I think that, if you're just doing like obviously, like if it's a one shot or if it's like a mini session, then you can kind of do however long you want to do. But if you're doing like an ongoing campaign and it's something that you're meeting up for on a regular basis, I think that, like, first of all, I think 3 hours minimum, yeah, because it's hard. We all know scheduling is like the biggest bane of this game, right? So it's hard to get like more than 3 or 4 adults together on a regular basis consistently. So if you can do it, you should try and maximize what time you have. So I'm thinking like at least 3 hours for like a standard ongoing campaign. Probably not much more than 5, because then you start pushing it into territory of like, okay, wait a minute, are we 22? Because like I'm almost 40, I can't be playing a game for fucking 6 hours. So I think 5-minute dungeon. Yeah, I've thought about that too, as to what like something like that would look like if it was just like a piece of the campaign or like scenes from a campaign. Oh, write that down. That could be cool. Scenes from a campaign where it's just like out of context clips that like don't have anything to do with. Actually, that sounds kind of neat. And then maybe you could build it out as such where people could put it together later. We run 4 to 5 hours depending on the week. For me, it's about 3 hours. I've run a 4-hour module in 17 minutes. Wow. And a 16-hour marathon game. Sometimes do micro sessions between classes back when I was in college, usually just to advance a storyline that was specific to our character. Yeah, I guess I have done like micro sessions in the sense of like for a single character, like moving the story forward. A lot of that came into play in the ones that we played on the channel with the We Play and with the Airships of Nuada, just as was the nature of me taking a character and then making them disappear and then reappearing with a new character. And so that lent itself, I think, to a lot of like little, 40-minute sessions with me and Ethan, where we're just kind of like, we do a little bit of thing and like push the story forward. A level 19 old fart. No way. You're not as high as level 19 though. Pulled an all-nighter once. Oh yeah, well, I mean, when I was like 20 and we were like heavy into D&D, I mean, we'd play the whole night. We'd start getting going at like 6-7 o'clock and just go until like 4 or 5 a.m. So I'm definitely familiar with marathon type sessions. I don't think that it's good to consider as a norm. But, also it matters on the party too. That's the thing. I think with a lot of stuff, a lot of questions we have on here, what's the ideal time frame for a game? Depends on the party. Depends on lots of the circumstances. As kids, we'd play entire weekends. Now my adult groups are 3 to 4 hours usually. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you can only do so much. We only have so much time. Can't do the all-night games anymore. Yeah, I hear that. I'm starting to appreciate sleep more. By 3 a.m. is the dungeon master just improvising. Kind of. I mean, it depends on what the deal is. The other thing, too, is, like, going back to the idea of depending on the group, like, well, how long does it take y'all to do stuff? Because sometimes you could play for 5 hours and you really only did 2 things. Other times you could play for an hour and get, 4 or 5 plot points done. So it just kind of depends also on the DM and just the nature of the campaign, how it unfolds. Scenes from a D&D jumping from the bards seducing a random NPC ends with the child beating BBG. You have more than 8 people, the time for games has to be longer. Yeah, and party size, too. That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, if you're running like a 7-8 player table, it's going to take you longer than if you're running like a 3 or 4 player table. Anytime your group can get together and play is time well spent, regardless of how long you actually get to play. Once you're very familiar with your characters and setting, you can play shorter bursts because you can get right into it. That's true. Yeah, a lot of the building, as it were, when it comes to the campaign and the character building happens early. And it's not to say that you don't build throughout the campaign. But yeah, I think to Kirk's point, like once everybody knows what time it is in terms of not just like who their characters are and how they want to portray them, but also the rest of the party, how you interact, what the goal is, how everybody's vibing, then it gets easier to just kind of plug in. Easy town. 5 or 6 battles sometimes in an hour. Meanwhile, it takes 3 hours in a town. Yeah, that's the old joke about D&D, right? Where, walking 50 miles takes 5 minutes and a 3-minute battle takes 5 hours. But, yeah. It's pretty good stuff. All right, well, I think there's an answer in there. Moving on to Chris's next question. Thank you for that question. And thank you for this question. Chris asks, I've seen arguments online that seem evenly split on this topic. When making a charisma throw, should players roleplay / explain what they are trying to say versus just declaring their intention? So, dear shopkeeper, can't you offer me a discount? I'm an adventurer and will be a return customer. Versus, I roll for the shopkeeper to give me a discount. What are your thoughts on this? Well, that is a point of contention for years and years. I actually remember thinking about this pre the internet the way that it is now. Back in like the early 2000s, I remember thinking this. I remember thinking, well, shouldn't we? I will say this. I think that in a perfect game, the players should kind of be in RP mode most of the time, such that if they're talking to me or to an NPC, I should kind of already know that that's them that's talking to me, right? Should be very This is why I think like making funny voices or accents helps when it comes to differentiating like whether or not you're speaking in character. But I digress. When it comes to the actual role thing, I don't know what Raw says, and frankly, I don't care. I do think that it's a matter of personal preference as to the party, to the DM. I think that you should. It's tricky, right? Because if you do say something cool and then you roar and then you roll poorly, well, then it's kind of stupid. But it does feel a little cheap for you to just be like, hey, I want to do this. And then you roll, but you don't really have to do anything for it. The only trouble I think with that is that are you going to hold people to task for every other thing, right? So like, you want somebody to say whatever their thing is directly to the character in role play to activate the mechanic of them rolling the dice. Should we expect that of someone who wants to, for example, like break something to intimidate the shopkeep? Well, certainly not. We wouldn't want somebody to like break something at the table. But what I'm getting at is, where does that line end if you're going to start chasing that down? Because I think that, and this is something that you work these kinks out in session 0 as to expectations and what everybody's in for and looking for. But I think that the player should say whatever the thing is before the roll. That's how I play. As a player, I think it's cooler that way. Ultimately, I think that depending on the DM, you can kind of leave it in their hands. And I think that a lot of times now that I'm thinking about it, I feel like we did that with Ethan when it came to any of that kind of stuff. Like I would say whatever the thing is, right? Like I would approach as, doing the charismatic thing or attempting to, and say whatever the thing was. Like, oh yeah, well, we can help you with that. And then I would roll. And if I would roll like a 2 or something, then Ethan would really be good about kind of adding flavor text to what exactly happened, whether it was me stumbling over my words, etc. So I don't think that it's a requirement. I think that it enhances the game, but I don't think that by not doing it, it takes away from the game. We see what people in chat are saying. Whatever the player's comfortable doing depends on the player. RP with or without advantage. When dating Ron, he did an all-nighter and had to walk home. He slept for 16 hours. I knew then I would have to learn more about this to keep us together. Yeah, what is this game that's taken away your whole evening? I think it should be more role play. There's no need to give extra context. Yeah. Roll to trip on smooth flooring. Hey, DM, the party and I don't want to be adventurers anymore. We're beating the BBEG and just want to settle down and open up a shop or restaurant or something. What are your thoughts? It ends here. Yeah. I mean, that's the that's the end of a lot of campaigns, yeah. People at the table can see that you're rolling a dice. Yeah. Personally have no haggle skills, so I need to rely on rolls. Yeah, and that matters. That's the kind of player you are. Like somebody like Jay would have no problem like saying whatever the thing was during the roll. But maybe somebody I don't know. I don't know anybody because like most of the people that I play with are like into the role play. But part of that, and a big part of that, is because we've all been friends for so long. It's not as if I just think that we're all like individually able to pop into the role play. Because like I know Rigsby, the guy who plays Waylon on the show, like he's kind of more of an introverted, like not necessarily shy, but just kind of quiet guy. So it wouldn't surprise me if, if he were around strangers or something, I don't know if he would have as much leaning into the role play as he does when it's just us. So as a real life shopkeeper, roll to haggle leads to initiative. True story. Yeah. As an independent contractor, as a self-employed business owner, yeah. Roll to haggle leads to initiative. We often use our old retired characters as filler NPCs, like the leader of the local assassins go to a mayor or something like that. Yeah, that's a good idea too. We got a lot of those. You got a lot of sheets sitting around. That's fun stuff for the DM. Man, I really need to develop my character book. I know that I've talked about it a few times on here. And Connor, if you're listening, I'm sorry I haven't gotten back to you. I intend on doing so, but it's just, again, I'm just like, I feel like I've been kind of like waking up from hibernation, so to speak, just because I've been sick for the last couple of weeks. So it's very much like 2024 January. That was a free trial month. So 2024 starts today. That's my rule. Use the PC's reputation to adjust prices. Ah, that's a good idea. That should be the case anyway. All right. So, if our PCs reach level 20, they become deities in the next campaign. Yeah, that's a cool way to do it. I do like the idea of throwing them in as NPCs. And funny enough, Ethan actually does that with the character Barry. That's actually where Barry was born from. If people didn't know that, I think I might have talked about it on here before, but if I didn't, as some of you may know, if you watch the show, Barry, he's a whole character in the series. In real life, his name's Ethan, and was our forever DM. Still would like to play something again at some point, but the Ethan always had a Barry in his campaign, and sometimes he would show up as an NPC. I think in the Airships of Nuada campaign, he shows up as like a friendly NPC, and don't remember where he was. Oh yeah, he was in the We Play as well. Barry. He's been in, I think, in every campaign we've played. So that's actually where the Barry bit carried from, was that it was just like, oh, well, we'll just make you this like evil DM named Barry. Is anyone in chat that just came into your Forza Horizon 5 live stream? Whoa, you're doing Forza? Oh man, I see clips of that game on TikTok. It looks so cool. Whale NPC. That's right. Yeah. Oh man, yeah. Good old Barry. Barry the Sky Whale. Let's go. That's so cool. Yeah, Barry has appeared in multiple campaigns in multiple forms. All kinds of different NPCs and stuff. So, all right. Let's keep it moving. We got some more questions. A couple more questions and a follow-up. Thanks again, Chris, for the question. Moving on to the next question from Chris. Hopefully, Baldur's Gate 3 will be getting some DLC. What content would you like to see added to the game? Okay, so we have started our new Baldur's Gate 3 run through. The one that has been running, the little compilation thing, I think there's only like 2 more of those. And then we're going to be getting into the new stuff. I'm going to try my best to make them a little longer form, just so that it kind of encompasses the full game. But Flim Flam's back, baby. I'll tell you that. And it's been way fun. So I'm running a Circle of Spores Druid. Ooh wee. That's Flim Flam is a Circle of Spores Druid. So buckle up for that, folks. Justin's character's name is Jasper Poppycock. And Cody's is Soup Can Sam. And I don't remember Ryan's character's last name, but his first name is Apple. So that's been way fun. And I feel like I've lost complete sight of the question. Oh, DLC stuff. Yeah, okay. Yeah. More story, I'd say. But more so like, I think it would be cool if you're going to do DLC to just do... Maybe you don't even need a whole new area. Excuse me. As much as you just need like new plot, new quests, I guess is the word that I'm looking for. But a new area could be cool as well. I think that the coolest thing would be opening it up to different races, as well as adding a couple of classes. Like notably the Artificer, Carl Dillon. Oh man, yeah, and I saw about Carl Withers passing away today. Rest in peace, Carl Weathers. That sucks. That's Apollo Creed, man. It's very unfortunate. Yeah, that'd be cool to make Carl Weathers' character. Haven't played it, but add some Kender. Not plays Baldur's Gate 3, but what I've heard, I can't think of anything that is family friendly. Not really. I mean, Baldur's Gate 3 is a game that was like made by D&D adult fans for D&D adult fans. I think, at least in my experience, we did finish the one run through. We'll be doing a more extensive run through on this one. There was something else that I feel like I wish that they would add beyond the obvious cross-play. Because once that's happening, then that's going to be way fun. Man, I feel like I was just talking about this afternoon, and I didn't write it down because I had a really good answer that was beyond just... Now I can't think of what it is. But yeah, I do... Maybe allowing the players a little more agency and customization when it comes to the plot and stuff. I don't know. A DM mode, as it were, where you can kind of adjust the existing terrain or characters, make quick and easy kind of changes, switch arounds to change the plot. I don't know. Fireball while singing Burning Down the House. Yeah, that's a lot of what we do, actually, already in Baldur's Gate 3, is just, well, that's certainly what Justin was doing as a sorcerer, is just throwing around, like Divinity, like in Divinity Original Sin 2. What do you mean? There's like a DM mode in that? What are you saying? Have I got to go back to Divinity Original Sin? I feel like I might have to go back. Because years ago, when I started to... A couple years ago, I was starting to stream and starting to get into it. And one of the games that I was recommended and ended up downloading and trying out was the... Breaking down the chat. Was the Divinity... 2. You can create your own stuff and tell your own story. Oh, dude, yeah. If they implemented something like that into Baldur's Gate 3, it's over, dude. Forget about it. That would be the coolest thing ever. Now, I don't know how much I would be into doing the DM mode, but like I know my friend Ryan would be super into it. I think it'd be really fun to allow DMs to get involved in that way where they can kind of, you know, even the smallest of adjustments. Now, I know that there's like the new mode where you can, you know, really, really customize things down to like, you know, NPC aggressiveness and stuff like that. But I'm talking about being able to just like go into Baldur's Gate as it is, like the city, right? And then just being able to, yeah, I mean, I guess at that point you're doing a different game. I don't know how Divinity does it. Don't know how they'd be illegally allowed to. It's meant for multiplayer. Tempted by Pathfinder, Wraith of the Righteous. Rather not, it's not my kind of game. I've never played any Pathfinder video games. The only Pathfinder I've played is the TTRPG, and I haven't even really played, like, not in earnest, Pathfinder 2. Hasbro would flip it if Baldur's Gate became a virtual tabletop sim, I'd imagine. Yeah, maybe. Well, I mean, Hasbro, right? They've already set up that deal with what's their place, Resolution, to make their D&D VR. So it seems like that's going to be happening anyway. Nuclear Winter Fireball. Pathfinder Kingmaker for Xbox. How is it? I don't know. Maybe that might be worth checking out. But I think that Baldur's Gate 3 is just really good. It's just so good. It's just a great game. I've had a lot of fun with it. And I'm having even more fun now with Flim Flam. And I will say, like, the second playthrough has been a bit more enjoyable than the first, just because, like, I kind of know what I'm doing. So, Owlcat lost her license to Kingmaker. Not familiar. It's possible. But yeah, those are the things that I'd like to see add. I want more races, like and I know that there are mods for them, but you know, I don't know enough about mods. It'd be nicer to just be able to pop it on as DLC. New maps seems kind of pretty obvious. And then maybe potential class expansion and just like adding the Artificer or something else. You saw in the news that Hasbro might be selling D&D. Well, I don't want to buy it. It's kind of a money hole, at least that's what they've turned it into in the last year or two. You know, it's a real shame they might not have even been in this position at all if they would have just not done the stupid OGL stuff at the beginning of last year. I bet things would have been totally different for them in terms of the film, the merchandising, just like in general. But, yeah, who knows? I don't know what the future of that stuff's going to be because between VR and AR... I don't know who they would sell it to is my thing, too, even if they were. I'll give you $50. Best I could do is, yeah, what's your valuation, Hasbro? Oh, well, this is a $1 billion company. Best I could do is $50. I mean, what are you selling? Because wasn't that was the whole thing about the OGL, is that it's like, well, what are you selling? The rights to like a handful of copywritten classes, races. They cleaned up the OGL a little too late to save the movie. Yeah, no doubt. Well, I think that the fallout was just so large that it was kind of impossible to clean up. Because it happened in January. I don't even think I made an OGL until like towards the end of January. Might not have even been until like March or April, now that I think about it. That first quarter, everybody was still kind of like figuring out what was happening and like people were pissed. And then Then it was summer. Then it was time to go see the movie. And it was like, unless you were going to go see the movie anyway, if you were on the fence at all, you probably didn't go see it. So they probably lost out on a couple $100 million on the movie. Sell it to the gamers. Yeah. For us, by us. Give it to the community. Why not? I mean, very few people actually care about the OGL stuff. Oh, interesting. Huh. I thought that it was a pretty big deal. But yeah, I don't know. Paramount Plus. Yeah. Oh, man. And I keep forgetting I'm supposed to cancel that, right? Because now it's going to be an add-on for Hulu. They're just recreating cable, folks. Do you see this? Is anyone paying attention? Ladies and gentlemen, they're just recreating cable. All of these companies. Listen, we just used to have Netflix. And then it was Netflix and Hulu. But then everybody had to do their own thing. I don't know why. I don't know why they didn't just allow Netflix and Hulu to build out their infrastructure and just be part of that. I don't know. Maybe they thought that they stood to make more money as an individual streaming platform. Problem with that is it's not a very successful streaming platform if it sucks. So Paramount's streaming platform, since it existed back as like CBS Stream back in like 2017, has been bad and just gotten worse. And they've probably over-leveraged, and they've probably spent more money than they needed to when it came to content. And as a result, now they're just going to be an add-on for Paramount Plus, or rather an add-on for Hulu. So it's just like, well, we're just going to be, within 18 months, we're just going to be all back to either just Netflix or Hulu, and then all of that other stuff will just be on there. There's no D&D without us, no doubt. I like the movie. Yeah, the movie I thought was good. It's not to say that the movie was bad. I think that Hasbro and Wizards missed out on an opportunity to make a lot more money on that film than they did. Amazon Prime still has Paramount Plus. Whoa, really? Hold on. I have Prime. I'm going to be upset if I have Paramount Plus through Prime and I've been also paying for Paramount Plus. Hasbro was talking to one of Larian's investors. Bro, that would be insane. If Larian just bought it, that actually might be the best thing for them to do. Just be like, here, you take this. We don't know what we're doing. And Larian, I think, clearly does. Like, everybody that I know that is a fan of D&D that's played Baldur's Gate 3 has loved it. So, remember that old Nick show you liked? Here's a season. Please love us. Yeah, for sure. Well, even like with the new Frasier, it's like, I try with Paramount, but like, you can't even load the app. The app doesn't even load. And then when it does, it's clunky. It's just not intuitive. It's like, there's a reason Netflix is a staple in all the homes. There's a reason Netflix didn't really suffer that much from the whole like password crackdown thing. Is because it's just become like a utility, like the internet or something. Paramount Plus, on the other hand, is like barely a platform. So now it's just going to be an add-on. This is why we haven't chosen streaming yet. So what would I choose between Netflix or Hulu? If I'm honest, there's probably more overall value on Hulu, just because Hulu also offers stuff like live TV. Through Hulu, you can get like Disney Plus and or ESPN. With Netflix, it's just like you just get Netflix. And it's like, yeah, they have a lot of content and like relatively good original stuff, but I don't know. I feel like overall, my wife and I probably watch more Hulu than Netflix. And HBO is good, but that's because HBO has good content, you know? That's the other part of it, is that it's like, well, what is there to watch? Like with Paramount, it's like, well, what's on here? Wings? Now, don't get me wrong, I love Wings. But like, who's watching Wings? With HBO, man, they're just like turning out bangers all the time. Game of Thrones and True Detective and the Winning Time show that got canceled. It was so stupid. I can't believe that show got canceled. But, you know, they make good stuff. So make good stuff. This is the lesson for any corporations listening in. Make good stuff. People will respond to that. And don't threaten to take away the good stuff, or you might screw up the good thing that you made. Looking at you, Wizards. The Media One movie. Amazon Prime has Paramount Plus, Max, Showtime, and others. I see. That's right. Problem is you want one show on one stream, a second show on a second stream. So you get to, yeah, I know. It's annoying, believe me. My wife and I had Apple strictly for Severance. And now it's been so long since it's been finished with the first season that it's like I don't even know if I want to watch it anymore. You took too long. That happens with stuff. It's just like, wait, what? It's been 3. I think that's going to happen with Stranger Things. It's like, how am I expected to care about season 5 if they are going to be doing a season 5, especially if like Millie Bobby Brown's not in it? Like, I don't know. Took too long. Kind of happened with Game of Thrones too. You can't step away for too long. Got to kind of keep it going. Totally watch Wings and MacGyver. Yeah, Wings is good, dude. Wings is underrated. That's a good show. Got Hulu for Raw and SmackDown and Peacock for pay-per-views. Yeah, also, wait a minute. Isn't Raw, Avram, coming to Netflix? Isn't that the thing? Monday Night Raw? Or is that... Maybe I'm thinking of Friday Night SmackDown. Something's going to Netflix. I saw some news about it recently. Wings is on Pluto for free. Let's go. Yeah, that show's real fun. All right. We got a few more questions. And then we'll do chat. Although, to be fair, this whole episode's been a bit chat, but that's fine. More from Chris. Let's see. My partner doesn't play D&D, but she likes to watch the game being played. While it's not a problem with home games, I recently found out that that FLGS has a rule against non-players sitting at the table. Do you believe having a non-player at the table is a detriment to the game? No, not really. Obviously, it depends on who's at the table, what the situation is. Now, like, I understand from the FLGS standpoint, kind of, but I don't know. It depends. Does this FLGS charge like by the hour to play there? Because in that case, I can kind of understand, because it's like, well, then we got just this person that's just kind of hanging in there and they're not even playing. I can also understand why, if it's a group where you don't really know anybody all that well and maybe there's strangers, that it could be a bit off-putting for somebody to just be kind of sitting there. But do I think it's a detriment to the game? Not really. Not unless they're interrupting. Like, that depends too. Like, what's the extent of they're just sitting there? Because if they're just kind of like sitting there quietly observing, that wouldn't bother me. It might bother some people. Somebody might be like, hey, this is weird. I don't like this. But I don't think that it's a detriment to the game strictly. I think that it could be. But I mean, I think anything could be a detriment to the game. So I guess I can kind of see where the FLGS is coming from. Certainly if it was a thing where it was like a competitive thing, if they pay for their seat. Yeah, because that's, I get that, because it's like in like a pool hall or something, right? Where like, oh man, it's been a minute since I shot pool, but like I remember back in the day, it was like, I think it was like $4 per person per hour. And so, if you were in there, you were paying to play pool. You couldn't really just be in there hanging around. I guess you could, but you wouldn't be playing pool. All of this is to say that it's like, look, if the FLGS has it in their model that like they require people to play, or rather pay to play, in the sense of like paying for the time to use the space, then, you just got to kind of respect, like, all right, well, yeah, I guess non-players are not allowed. I think it's kind of silly. It's a little gatekeepy, because let's be honest, all players were once non-players. Right? I mean, I was certainly a non-player before I was a player. And even though I didn't feel the need to observe a session as much as I just kind of I kind of dove right in after I was encouraged to by my friends, I can certainly imagine being somebody who maybe wasn't that interested and just liked to watch it. And then who knows? Maybe during one of those observations, you're really, you get sparked on a character idea or a concept, and turns it into a whole new thing where it's like, well, you know what? Actually, I have decided that I want to play. That'll be fun. Let's give it a try. Seems like a business rule. Yeah, for sure. I don't think anybody cares all that much. Avram, it was announced earlier today that all WWE shows are moving to Netflix. Yeah. Sit down and player down at my table, and next session they will want to play. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good attitude to have. If they're really just watching, fine, but if they don't like just sitting there and they want it to be over. Yeah, and I can see that. That's a good point, Kirk, because, like, and I'm certainly not suggesting that your partner is this way, but on the other side of it, I can see there being a scenario where somebody is like, oh, yeah, I'll just like to sit and watch. And then, like, maybe it becomes disruptive. Maybe it becomes a distraction where it's like they're asking questions and it's like, well, okay, well, you're not playing, right? So, like, if you just want to sit and observe, that's fine. Just sit and observe. It would certainly be welcome at my home table. And if I had a business, I wouldn't really care that much if there was somebody just sitting at the table. But it comes down to the party. It comes down to the DM and what everybody's preferences are. Pool Hall TTRPG. Is there a reason why I'm wanting to play from watching your campaigns and watching Ron? Yeah, that's what it is. It's like a drug. Once you get, you get around it, you start getting ideas. It's just like, oh, the first time I played, we've all talked about that with the Lawful Good Paladin. But even in like being a little annoyed by that, I was like, it just opens doors in your head. Just different things to think of that you hadn't thought of before. Alrighty. So we've got one more question, and then there's a follow-up, and then we'll talk a little bit, do a little chat stuff. Thank you again, Chris. Can't thank you enough for all these great questions. Let's do this last one, which is, if you could make a movie based off of any piece of media, what would you choose? Ooh, that's tough. Man. If I could make a movie off of any piece of media, well, I will say there was a show that ran, gosh, it's probably been like 2017 that it came out. But I don't know why I thought of this, because I'll be honest, I didn't write anything down. I didn't think about this beforehand. I'm just thinking about this just now, and it's the first thing that came to my mind. And not that it really needs to exist in any other format, just as like, although I don't know what it would look like in an expanded format. But there was a show back in 2017 called The Earliest Show. And it's Ben Schwartz. And the story is about him essentially going through the five stages of grief, experiencing them after a breakup. So like in the first episode, he proposes to his fiance and she says no. And so then the next episodes are him just like going through the grief. And it's really, really funny. And if I wanted to see like a piece of media that I'm aware of, like be expanded out into a film, that would definitely be one of them. 3 different interrupting ads. This is unbelievable. I can't believe this. I'm sorry, team. I don't know how this happened. I want to say Dragonlance. Between waiting for years, Roger Zelazny's Amber Chronicles. The restaurant at the end of the universe. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess like a Moon Knight movie is easy because they did the show and it was. It's okay. I think Oscar Isaac did good. I enjoyed it, right? I enjoyed it. I like Moon Knight. Should have been 12 episodes. And I think that story just makes for a really cool movie. I'll tell you what it is. Tale 666. That's the movie. That's the story that needs to be a movie. There was a plane, was a mapping mission in World War II. These guys went over to do a mapping mission. On the way home, on their return. Now, they were a bit of a ragtag crew, these guys. In fact, they took that mission because it was super dangerous and nobody else wanted it. The ship that they were on, or rather the plane, I guess, was one that they had kind of put together in like the graveyard, the plane graveyard. And it was for mapping purposes, so it wasn't really armed like you would arm like an attack plane, but they added stuff to it. They like added guns to it and stuff. Anyway, these guys went on this mapping mission, and on their return home, they were intercepted by, I think, like 16 or 17 Japanese Zeros. And they proceeded to have a dogfight for 45 minutes and got pretty much everybody home. I think only the gunner was lost. I think only the gunner died because, you know, he got messed up, unfortunately. But, like, that is a really... I mean, that film writes itself. 45 minutes of it is the dogfight. So, man... oh, cool. Yeah, you know about it too, Ruby. Yeah, that thing, man, I'm astonished, actually, that at this point in time, there's not a film about that. Like, there's documentaries about it, but not like a, you know, like a Dunkirk or something. About that story, forget about it. I'd love to put that together. That'd be really fun. Wait, you just got here, start over. Hold on, wait, we're at the end now, Mike. We can't do it. But you're welcome to hang out with us while we do this follow-up and we do some chat. Yeah, I'm going to go with old 66. Old 666. And that's not necessarily media, per se, I guess. So, I don't know. I kind of made up my own rules with the answer. But that's the thing that I would want to say. Man Shorts movie, like the Vacation Saga, but we see everyone playing their characters. Oh, yeah, that'd be really cool. What was the plane story? Let me look up what it was actually called. For people for reference. Yeah, it's just old 666. So it was a Boeing B-170 Flying Fortress Heavy bomber. So I guess it was a bomber, but they built it. They customized it. It's pretty crazy. Yeah, Jay Zemer was the captain. Joseph Sarnowski was the second lieutenant. It was like a whole little crew of them, 8 of them. And Jay Zemer, by the way, oh yeah, as if that wasn't enough, the captain, Jay Zemer, who brought everyone home, well, not everyone, fortunately lost one or two, but who brought people home, that dude went on to be like a NASA engineer. Like his story wasn't even done. He got home and was like, in fact, I think that when they got home, he was pronounced dead. And then later they were like, oh, wait a minute, he's alive. And then he went on to become like a NASA engineer. So, I don't know, just interesting stuff. Masters of the Air on Apple Plus. I have not. Ate a sandwich called a bomber. Oh, that's cool. Whoa, simulation stuff. Ooh. All right. Oh, and then there's a quick follow-up that I'd completely forgotten about, which is from Yokai Lover, who I think's in here. But let's do the follow-up. Hi, Bardman. I hope all is well and you are feeling better. Yes, much. Thank you. This is just a small update. The question I asked a few weeks ago about getting help with an all-Psionic campaign. We've played only 2 sessions since I asked, but I took inspiration from Thorntooth and the Airships of Nuada campaign. Please tell Justin thanks. Will do. Justin, thanks. I'm trying to lean more into the role play as well as trying to be a fighter more. Soul Knife lends itself to fighting over using psionics. So far, it's going well, even if I'm still getting a little lost with the lore from the DM. It's me all the time. Never know what's going on. Like I said, we haven't gotten to play that much since I asked, but I thought might like to hear what I ended up doing. Thanks again. Well, thank you. And I'm glad to hear that that you got some inspiration there from us. Yeah, I don't know. It's when it's tough when you don't understand the mechanics or really what you're doing, it's tough to kind of get into the role play, but Justin's actually a great example of somebody that does that well. So it actually doesn't surprise me that he was the one that you referred to, because Justin has a way of, I I don't know. He's more confident in him in just doing stuff than I am. Because I feel like in D&D, I kind of always I'm like, oh, what are the rules about what I can do? And where Justin will just do a thing. And then it's like, oh, okay. Well, that's a method. That's certainly a way that you could do it. Used to work at an airport. All the sandwiches were named after aircraft. Oh, that's really cool. My wife used to make sandwiches at the airport. Sort of sounds like Muscle's life. He's from Vietnam, F2, 4 fighter pilots who went on to become a team. Create one of the creators and teachers of Top Gun. Oh, okay. Yeah. So, well, I'm glad. Yokai, I'm glad that gave you a little bit of direction. And sorry you haven't gotten to play too much since then, but hopefully you get to play more in the future. And it continues to go well. All right. Well, we're here officially at Chat. I can't believe it. We're already here. I've just been yammering on for an hour. What's going on out there? What do you guys want to talk about for Chat? We got the Super Bowl. We got the Super Bowl next week. And guess who it is? The two teams that I didn't think it was going to be. So I was hoping for a Ravens-Lions Super Bowl. And the universe said, well, we're doing the opposite of that. So it's going to be the 49ers and the Chiefs. And I don't really know who's going to win. Probably the Chiefs. But hey, I mean, the 49ers have a whole lot of talent. My thing is about the Chiefs, it's more about Pat Mahomes than anything else. Because that guy is just... And listen, granted, I watched the Ravens game. You know, there was a lot more about Lamar not showing up. But, you know, I think there was some crazy statistic one time that I read somewhere about Tiger Woods where, like, when he was on the course, right? Like, it's like one of the things that, like, makes Tiger kind of like the GOAT of GOATs when it comes to sports. Because apparently, like, when Tiger is there, and it doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter if it's just like a regular match or like, you know, some part of the tournament or something. If Tiger's on the course, everybody shoots like a stroke or two less on average than they normally do, which is just insane. And so when it comes to the NFL, I wonder how much of that goes into that kind of stuff when it's like, because listen, Lamar was clearly fantastic all year. And then they just couldn't figure it out against the Chiefs. And the Chiefs didn't even have to score that much. I mean, they had got 17 points. All they had to do was keep the Ravens from scoring. And I said, didn't I say? I've said multiple times, this was the Ravens' Super Bowl to lose. Well, they lost it. So, there you go. And happy early Valentine's Day. Yes, happy early Valentine's Day, everybody. I guess that's coming too, in addition to just the Super Bowl. Listen to the Airships campaign. Thought I'd give the Thorntooth method a try. Yeah, I mean, Justin's great about that because he'll just like walk up and be like, let's push it in. Let's turn it on. Isn't Taylor's team going to win because PSYOP or something? Who knows, man? I don't know. I can't keep up with all that stuff, all of the whole, like, script thing. By the way, anybody that thinks the NFL is scripted, if it was scripted, it would have been Chiefs-Lions, in my opinion. That's the script. That's the game you sell. Because then, in addition to the whole, like, story of the Chiefs dynasty versus the Lions' first chance, you've got Taylor Swift and Eminem on either side of that. So if you're talking about like marketability, if the fix is in for the script to be, you know, that it makes me think of last year's NBA finals. It's like, dude, if the NBA was scripted, the finals would have been Celtics Lakers, not Nuggets Heat. Nobody but people from Denver and Miami wanted that game. So, you know, the idea that it's quote-unquote scripted seems a little crazy. Quick throwback to the media to movie question. I always hoped for a Lovecraftian cosmic horror series and a movie based on the labors of Hercules. Yeah, I've also kind of always wanted a solid Tarzan movie. You know, the one with Alexander Skarsgård a couple years wasn't too bad, but if they just did like a just like a straight up adaptation of like the original Edgar Rice Burroughs, and they just did kind of like a shot for shot remake. That would be super dope. Happy Groundhog Day. Oh yeah, it is Groundhog Day. Yeah, it sounds like the Ravens did take my advice. Happy with HBO's True Detective. Oh yeah, that's been fun. Chiefs Lions was the first game of the season. That's right. That's true. Yeah, so that would have been like a perfect end cap. Taylor rushes onto the field, intercepts the ball, and runs the winning touchdown. Roll credits. Oh man, I gotta say too, on TikTok, dude, those have been some of my favorite memes. That's been some of my favorite memes this week, where it's like, here's my non-biased Super Bowl prediction. It's one of the ones you got to flip through, right? And it's just some of the most absurd stuff you've ever seen. It's actually, a lot of it's really funny. So I always cringe at the stupid questions to ask the coaches and players. Yeah. Yeah, and somebody pointed out a thing today, too, because, like, all these people are complaining about Taylor Swift, and it's like, hey, nobody cares that, like, Jack Nicholson's at all the Lakers games. Nobody has anything to say about the fact that, like, Spike Lee's at every Knicks game just screaming at the refs. So it's like the idea that a celebrity is at a sports event is not anything new. What's annoying about it is that she brings with her an army of people who are, doing the whole, they're making it a whole thing because it's like, oh, that's going to be the 49ers and 4 + 9 is 13. Like, and this is going to be Taylor's 13th game of the season. It's like, all right, man. We're really reaching at this point, but Battletech tomorrow, the Super Bowl, we shall see. End of the game, Taylor looks at the camera, I'm going to Disneyland. Yeah, I'm sure that it'll listen. It's going to be entertaining. It's going to generate memes. It's going to be fun. So I just don't know how you could be really angry at it either way. So Taylor's Super Bowl appearance will be the second largest crowd she's seen in 24 hours. Yeah, also, it's not just a thing of like, oh man, this girl's annoying. Like, she's raised the value of the NFL by like $300 million just by being there. So it's like, whether or not you are annoyed by her being there, the NFL sure is happy to have her there. It's going to mean more. I think Travis Kelce is like, is he the number one selling jersey right now? If he's not, he will be soon. Just rewatched the what of madness? Super Bowl entertaining. Well, it depends on what your definition of entertaining is, right? The mouth of madness. Used to play football, but to me the Super Bowl has just been about the commercials for the last few decades. Yeah, kinda. I mean, they haven't been all that great. But then again, always crazy football people. Yeah, I don't know. People are just looking for a reason, I think, a lot of times. It's just like, what's this? I'm going to complain about this. I do that. I think we all do to an extent. So, what else is going on? I'm trying to think of what else is going on. More stuff in the news. Don't know. Think I'm out, gang. Think I'm out of stuff to say. But we are at the end, though. What would Taylor Swift's character sheet look like? Well, she would undoubtedly be a bard, yeah? With a way high charisma. And yeah, she'd be like a College of Glamour bard. Or like what's the other one where they sing? Lucas 73. Oh, dude. Well, how about everybody's... Okay. The NBA has been crazy in the last like month or so. First of all, didn't know the Knicks were third in the East. Go Knicks. That's cool. Not like I'm a Knicks fan. It's just, I don't know, nice to see them kind of in the conversation. Jalen Brunson's been going off. But Luka 73, not just Luka 73, but I think that in the last year and a half, there's been like 8 60-plus games. And then before then, it was like 20 years or something. I don't know. Good things for the week. Oh, yeah, that's a good call. Forgot that we do that thing here now and then. Keeping up with your resolution. You have a meeting with CFO Monday to discuss a raise. Nice. I'd rather pick something arbitrary to be upset about rather than a person. I mean, who eats salsa and chips in a stadium? Pauly Shore might play Richard Simmons. Oh, yeah. That's another good lookout for people to see if I haven't told you. Check that thing out, The Court Jester. I actually kind of liked it. And, you know, I've always had a soft spot, I think, for Pauly, just because, like, I grew up with that guy, like, with the weasel. And, yeah, granted, he's a bit of a weirdo, and he's a bit full-on and sometimes a bit much. But I also think that, like, he's really nice. And, you know, at first I wasn't sure if the thing with Richard Simmons was a bit or not. But then I saw it, and it's like, I don't know, man. I think he could do it. I think that if Richard Simmons himself got involved and felt like he wasn't being ridiculed and felt like it was about the piece and about the story and his story, I think it'd be cool. I think you should give it a try. Let Pauly give it a try. Just at dinner, that's a good thing. Oh yeah, wife got a new job. Forget watching for Taylor. Watch for Jason Kelsey. Yeah, that was really nuts too, him jumping out. Talk about an athlete, because that dude is like as big as me. And he's like my age. And he just hopped out of the thing. And then what was more impressive, I think, was him getting back in. You know, everybody talks about him jumping out, and obviously he's shirtless, and it's very like, a very barbaric moment. But like when he got back in, when he just like pulled himself up back into I was like, that was what was impressive to me. Tax season is here. Don't remind us. It's not here unless we admit to ourselves that it's here, you know? All right. Oh, you watched The Iron Giant. That's cool. And it is Kels. It's not Kelsey. I saw a clip about that where their dad was like, well, I just got tired of correcting people. And I totally relate to that kind of stuff. I mean, not that I've ever had any problem with people mispronouncing my name, but, you know, it's, I can imagine. It's just like, whatever. It's Kelsey. That's fine. All right, team. Wow. This actually ended up being a little longer than even normal. We're here at the end. I can't believe we did it, gang. Thank you so much all for hanging out with us this week. Please remember to like the podcast. You know, I forgot to do this at the beginning. I forgot to thank all of our members, our patrons, our super chatters. Remind everybody to like, comment, subscribe, share, like the podcast, rate the podcast on your respective platforms. Tell a friend, spread the word. Let's grow the community. Got a link to the Discord in the, Chris just posted one in the actual chat, and then there's also a link to the Discord in the description of the video. So come hang out on the Discord. Do my best to try and, answer stuff and communicate in there when I can. Wow. Okay. Well, we're through another one, gang. I can't believe it. So, reminder again before we get out of here of the email, just bardadvice@gmail.com. Please send your questions, concerns, complaints, queries, criticisms, critiques, and all those things to there. bardadvice@gmail.com. If you want to get some merchandise, you can do so at manshorts.com. Words on the dice is that we'll be releasing them. I said something about it on the Discord. If you want to know more about the dice, just go in the Discord. Ooh, how about that? manshorts.com. And then if you want to contribute to anything that I'm doing musically, you can do so directly via PayPal, Cash App, or Venmo, all of which are Yazik, YAHZICK. We will be back here next week, same Bard time, same Bard channel, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard on the Man Shorts YouTube channel. The audio for this podcast, as it always is, will be made available tomorrow at 12 p.m. noon Eastern Standard Time. I hope that everybody has a fantastic week, fantastic weekend, and we will see you next time.